Thank you, IFS. Thank you, Gaurav, for inviting me for a lecture. So my lecture is embryo biopsy. I have two lectures, embryo biopsy, and second one is cryopreservation of biopsied embryo. As cryopreservation is almost same. So in this lecture, for biopsy lecture, I have more slides I have prepared, and for cryopreservation will take little bit less timing because this is more important than cryopreservation one, because cryopreservation you already have knowledge about. It is special subject, and you have already have the presentation on that. So pre-implantation genetic screening provides a means of testing for this chromosome abnormalities and selecting the best embryos for embryo transfer. Why PGS and PGT? Because chromosomal abnormality has been observed in embryo as we are culturing embryo outside the body. In vitro culturing may harm embryo, and there are papers that chromosomal abnormality increases because of artificial fertilization. Second thing is patient at risk of transmitting a disease to next generation, like genetic disease, is required this testing. The aim of this technique is to increase the IVF pregnancy and delivery rates with normal child. The aim is not, see, IVF, the aim of IVF is not only child, but healthy child is our aim. So we can fulfill our aim with this technique. The indications for PGT is advanced maternal age as above 35 age, around 70% oocyte are abnormal, and above 40, around 80% oocytes are abnormal. So advanced maternal age is one of the indication for PGD. Repeated implantation failure, more than 3 implantation failure, definitely we should do PGD, PGS. Severe male factor like oligoasthenoteratozoospermia, TISA, PISA are also indicated patient for a PGD. Couple with normal karyotype who have experienced repeated miscarriages are also indicated for PGD, PGS. Single gene diseases like thalassemia, cystic fibrosis, albinism are also indicated for PGD, PGS. So now after 2017, International Glossary changed the PGD, PGS into PGT. It is pre-implantation genetic testing. So now we can say PGTA means pre-implantation genetic testing of aneuploidy, which is previously PGS, and PGD, now PGTM. It is for monogenics or single gene disease testing. So this slide shows the different method of embryo selection. Previously, we used to select embryo by manually observing the morphology. We check the morphology of embryo, and then we select the embryo for transfer. Then time-lapse imaging comes, so where we can know the morphokinetics of embryo, and we can have better selection. Suppose you have 4A blastocysts and both are morphokinetic, we can see morphokinetic at which time they are dividing and everything, and then we select better embryo. So time-lapse imaging is little bit better than manual. And then PGT comes. So PGT means we check the genetic chromosomal analysis, and then as per genetic report we select the embryos. So these are the indications for PGT. As I said, recurrent miscarriages, advanced maternal age, positive history of genetic disease in family, diagnosed carrier of genetic disease, male factor infertility, in vitro fertilization failure, single embryo transfer. If patient wants single embryo transfer, then also we can go for PGT. And if patient wants PGT, then also we can, it's depend on patient's wish, so we can do PGT. This is a graph, the chart of PGT. First we have to do ICSI. Then if you want to go for blastocyst biopsy, then grow the embryo up to blastocyst stage, or you can do day 3 cleavage stage biopsy also, and then do biopsy. embryo vitrification or embryo, if you are going to do fresh embryo transfer, you can transfer on in same cycle. Day 3 biopsy and day 5 transfer also possible. If you have in-house genetic lab, like we have in Akanksha in-house genetic lab, so we took biopsy in the morning and get report in the evening. So even in day 5 also we are doing fresh transfer. Then the cellular material goes to genetic lab. They do DNA separation and genetic analysis, and normal embryo generally we transfer and desired result you can get. So first come pre-preparation in lab. So before going for biopsy, before going for decision of biopsy, you should take the equipment in your lab, like micro manipulator, your laminar airflow, your you have all equipment, laser. You have to check it correctly. Is it correctly calibrated or maintained stage? You should see it. All the stages you have to check whether they are working at 37-degree temperature or not. Laminar airflow should be sterile and cell-free environment should be maintained. Appropriate media you have or not, chemicals you have or not, and tools which are required, needles and everything, you have to check it before deciding the biopsy for the patient. Biopsy is performed by well-qualified person because it is very tricky and very crucial procedure. So it should be done by well-qualified person. Use of powder-free gloves as we are using in IVF lab. Disposable gown is necessary. Cap and mask should be done very. Dishes should be prepared before the procedure, not the day before procedure, because we are using HIPPIs. So before procedure, you should prepare the dish with the patient's name and oocyte or embryo's number. A proper labeling system should be there to identify the cell number and embryo from which it was biopsied. All the stages have appropriate recorded witnessing. Matching of cell and embryo after biopsy should be done. Slide tube during preparation. Finally, embryos recommend transfer on at the time of transfer. Also, you should have a report with your cell number, and you have to check which witnessing. Arrangement for transportation should be done in well in advance. ICSI is preferable. Now they are saying if you do not do ICSI and IVF can be done in PGT, but you have to inform genetic lab these are IVF embryos. So they make sure that the contamination maybe comes from sperms. Cumulus cells are removed properly before biopsy, as this cell may contaminate and lead to misdiagnosis. So now comes preparation of procedure. Prior coordination of transportation in genetic lab on the day of OPU. You have to inform on the day of OPU to the transport person and lab. If you are outsourcing the genetic lab, ambient temperature and strict sterile conditions should be maintained in lab. Not microbiological sterile, but cell-free environment should be needed. Label the PCR tube and dish with patient's ID. You have patient's ID like initial of patient's name. Preparation of biopsy dish with calcium magnesium free media in case of cleavage stage biopsy, because calcium magnesium free media this cells separate and they you can do easily biopsy with calcium magnesium free media in cleavage stage. Preparation dish of wash drop transfer medium 5 microliter with PVP or PBS. Use a new denudation pipette and biopsy pipette to reduce contamination, cell-to-cell contamination. Always keep negative control in batch. I'll show you what is negative control. So this is a picture. You have to wear gown, sterile gown, which is disposable, gloves, cap, mask. This is the dish preparation. You can see the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is HIPPIs buffer or biopsy media readily available. You can use that also. The W mark drops are wash drops for you can wash cells there. Don't reuse their washing droplet. This is a culture dish where you have to wash post biopsy embryo. You wash the embryos out of the surrounding droplet and keep it in the center, which is written HB1. It is the initial of patient and number of embryo. So this is PCR tube, which is labeled HB1, HB1. The HB1, this is a sample tube and this is control tube. So you just have to put cell with around 5 microliter media in the sample tube and then rest media in control tube. So they can check any contamination is there or not. So steps during embryo biopsy, we know there are 3 steps: zona hatching, removal of cell, and transportation to genetic lab. Drilling of zona means there are 3 methods of zona drilling. Mechanical drilling, where you can it involves partial zona dissection, where we make the cut with sharp closed needle, and it is simple, safe, and chemical free treatment. But it is time consuming and technically very difficult, requires skill to perform. Second comes chemical drilling, where we use acetyl solution. You just have to sprinkle acetyl solution on the zona, and it create large round hole, and it may affect the embryonic development. So it is now not in use. If you do not have a laser device, then you can use chemical hatching or mechanical hatching. And third comes laser assisted hatching. It is most advanced technology in which laser beam is used to drill the zona. It is very fast, easy, and safe method. Laser shot may slightly increase the surrounding media temperature, so it affects the embryo, but equipment is also very costly, so each clinic cannot afford it. Second is removal of cells. So there are 3 types of embryo biopsy: polar body biopsy, blastomere biopsy, and profectoderm biopsy. Polar body biopsy is a preconception diagnosis where inherited disease is oocyte, because we are taking only polar body without fertilizing one polar body. So it analyzes the maternal chromosomes. It works on the principle that genetic makeup of polar body is complementary to cytoplasm of a oocyte. So we check genetic makeup of polar body, and we assume the normal or abnormal, whatever it is the egg. As this technique does not require cleavage of embryo, it is mainly done in a country where legal restrictions. There are some countries where legal restriction on embryo research, so they can do polar body biopsy and check maternal genetic analysis. It is also applied for couple having religious ethics. In some religions, ethical and moral constraints are there. They are not doing embryo biopsy, so you can use that. This is a video of polar body biopsy. You can see here small hatching. This is a discarded embryo. I'm not doing regularly polar body biopsy, but I just made this video for study purpose only. So you can see here the hatching. So you have to hatch zona properly. And take polar body slowly. It is very tricky. Without harming the cytoplasm, you just need to aspirate the polar body. Polar body biopsy needle is available ready-made. You can have it. Then this polar body sent this to genetic lab, and egg you can ICSI and fertilize. So advantages of polar body biopsy is polar body is not involving in cell division, so it is extra embryonic material, useful in country where screening of embryo is forbidden. Disadvantages is only maternal contribution is analyzed in first polar body biopsy, whereas you want to you want to check both the parameters, then you have to do second polar body biopsy also. It increase the time of increase the multiple manipulation. Then again you have to do ICSI, so total 3 times you are doing manipulation with the egg. So it is not very common in IVF. Second is blastomere biopsy. It works on the principle that 6 to 8 cell embryo is, we know, totipotent embryo, and it is a mirror image of other cells present in embryo. But here, if you have a 4 or 5 day 3 embryo, you have to do all embryo biopsy. So more number of embryos should be biopsied. Fresh transfer is possible. You can do day 3 biopsies, send the cell to the genetic lab, and report will come around in 36 hours, and you can transfer normal blastocyst in same cycle. So the advantage of blastomere biopsy, if you are outsourcing genetic lab, you can do fresh transfer in same cycle. Selection of blastomere, how we can select the blastomere in cleavage stage biopsy. So you should have visible nucleus in the cell. Cell should be smaller size as compared to another. Always select small size, so the cytoplasm, whatever you are removing, it is less small in size. The cell orientation is very important. The orientation of cells is towards the zona, so you can easily take out the cell. And the shape of the cell, if cell is oblong, then do not take that shape. It may be in division stage, so round cell is ideal for biopsy. Limitation of cleavage stage biopsy is you are extracting 1 or 2 blastomere. It create detrimental effect to biopsy, and we are removing around 12 to 12.5 to 33% cell material cytoplasm from embryo. So it may slow down the growth of embryo. This is a video of cleavage stage biopsy. You can see there are around 10 cells. This is a round cell, and it is oriented towards the zona. So you just have to do hatch on the zona. This is hatching. The cell is having nucleus also. Cell is round and smaller as compared to this. So you just have to press the zona from other side, so it will pop out the cells. You can see the nucleus here. So this cell you can send to genetic lab for genetic testing. If you do not have laser in your center, or your laser is not working on the day of biopsy, so you can use acetylide solution as a chemical zona hatching, or you can use mechanical as a, somehow mechanical method is very difficult. This is a needle, fine needle, which is, you just have to rub the and pop out the cells. Okay. So this was a mechanical zona hatching and biopsy of cleavage stage embryo. So advantages of blastomere biopsy is both paternal contributions can be analyzed. Result can be obtained for day 5 of veracity, as I explained. Disadvantages is if your embryo comes normal and it arrests, then what you do? So it is the question. Removing at least one cell out of 8 cells. So the mass of cytoplasm is removing more than profectoderm biopsy, and it doesn't pick up the mosaic results. Third comes trophectoderm biopsy. Is blastocyst embryo have two types of cells, trophectoderm and inner cell mass. Trophectoderm cells forms a placenta and ICM forms a fetus. So genetic makeup of trophectoderm is similar to ICM. So removal of few trophectoderm cells. There are many cells, hundreds of cells in trophectoderm. So removal of few cells do not affect the development of fetus. Why blastocyst stage biopsy is preferred? Because the number of cells compared to trophectoderm cells we are removing is lower proportion, around 3.3%, whereas in blastomere biopsy around 12.5 to 33%. More cells we can have, so more accurate result. Here we can take more, around 5 to 7 cells, so more accurate results. Provide more initial, more cells, more nucleus, we can get more DNA material than day 3 biopsy. Lower rates of mosaicism, safer for embryo because we are removing less mass, and it is safe for embryo also. Sometimes self correction also occur in mosaicism, and it is cost effective because number of blastomere biopsy, in blastomere biopsy the number of embryo is more than day 5 biopsy. Why not day 5? If you do not have in-house genetic lab, you do not get result on same day, you cannot do fresh transfer, you have to freeze the embryo, and FET you have to do. Is all embryo reach up to the blastocyst stage on same time? Means each and every embryo have a different timing for blastocyst formation or expandation, whereas if you are outsourcing genetic lab, you have to do biopsy on particular time because you have to send it to the transportation company. So each and every embryo, if not expand on same time, you cannot take biopsy at the same time. This is a video of blastocyst biopsy. In my lab, I hatch embryo around 5-6 hours prior to biopsy. So most of the time cells comes out like this. So I can do easily biopsy. You just have to do laser hatch on the joints of the cells. You can see the laser. You just have to continue doing laser hatching. It is very tricky. You have to firmly hold the from the side of ICM and take out the cells. Okay. This is a mechanical hatching of a blastocyst embryo. Like previously we see the needle is very fine. You just have to rub and cells come out. So this is a mechanical hatching. So if we compare all three biopsy, in polar body biopsy, only maternal DNA testing is done. In day 3 and day 5 biopsy, both the paternal, maternal, both the DNA is tested. Percentage of embryo biopsy in polar body, we are taking out polar body only, so no cytoplasmic material is biopsied. On day 3, around 12%, and in blastocyst, as there are so many trophectoderm cells, around 2% embryos, the cytoplasm is removed. Effect on embryo growth is in polar body negligible because we are not touching the embryos. On day 3, it slowed down the growth. As I said, out of 8 cells, we are removing 1 or 2 cells. So now raised to 5 or 6 cells, to reduce the slow down the growth. And in blastocysts, there is no known effect of biopsy. Mosaicism, yes, in NGS blastocyst biopsy, you can detect the mosaicism, whereas in day 3 and polar body biopsy, mosaicism is not detected. This is how we create the report at Akanksha. You can see here IB1, IB2. These are the initial of IB means patient's name initial, and 1, 2, 3, 4 is embryo number. Result is like this. Normal means it is euploid embryo, and it because it is euploid, transfer recommendation is yes, and confidence interval is high. The confidence interval is depend on the lab parameters. They see their result and their analysis, and they give the confidence interval level of the embryo. Here the IB4 is abnormal, so they transfer recommendation, they said no. But and highly abnormal, highly confirmed, it is abnormal embryo. This is a chromosomal chart. You can see this is normal embryos chart. This is abnormal IB4, where you can see blue line. You can have a blue line or red line on which chromosome is normal or abnormal. Sorry. How to evaluate report? If report is normal, your embryo is normal, then it is euploid embryo. If abnormal written in front of your embryo, so it is aneuploid embryo, you cannot transfer it. Chances of misdiagnosis in genetic lab is around 1.2% chances of misdiagnosis. Because of mosaicism, sometimes misdiagnosis occur. No diagnosis due to improper biopsy technique. Sometimes your cells stuck on a tube, PCR tube upper side or on a valve. So this is the this is no reason for no diagnosis of report. Loss of biopsy cells. Sometimes your biopsy cells you cannot able to put inside the PCR tube, and maybe loss of biopsy cell result in no diagnosis, or poor DNA quality embryo. Sometimes you take a cell which is not having nucleus, or fragments are give no diagnosis report. Non-informative reports, around 2.5% error is there because of cell DNA degeneration or DNA amplification failure, which leads to non-informative reports. So transportation, what we should take care for transportation of embryo. After removal of embryo, embryo should be washed properly in culture media, and then as I show you the dish which is prepared for culture the embryo, 2-3 times you have to wash the embryo and then keep it in proper marked droplet, and cells are washed in PBS and keep it in a PCR tube at the bottom. This is molecular aspects where they do sampling, library preparation where DNA extraction is done, template preparation, and then we have ion torrent. So we generally do NGS with ion torrent machine. Then they do sequencing and analyze the result. These are the different technique for testing embryo DNA which are popular, and recently we are using the FFISH. It was years before. It is very old method where only 5 chromosomes were analyzed. And then PCR came. It was preliminary for PGD. Now then ARRY-CGH come for PGS and PGD, which was modern. And now NGS we are using for PGS. It is very latest technology. So mostly asked question by patients and clinicians: does embryo harm the embryo? Does biopsy harm the embryo? Possibly, it can harm the embryos. This is a paper published in IJIFM. First case of successful implantation and live birth after double refractoderm biopsy and before and after vitrification. The same cohort of blastocysts where we did one embryo biopsy, we sent it and freeze the embryo, send it to genetic lab, and unfortunately the result came non-informative. Then we counsel patient for second biopsy. Embryo was a very good for AA blastocyst. So we counsel patient for second biopsy. We explain patient the limitations of maybe embryo damage or something, anything can be happen with embryo, but then patient ready to go for a embryo biopsy. We took consent for second biopsy, and we did with third embryo, we did second biopsy, and again freeze the embryo, and fortunately the result came normal, and we transferred that normal biopsy, which was we transferred the normal embryo, which was double biopsied, and we got live normal baby. So if embryologist or if person who are doing the embryo biopsy is well versed, well experienced, then the chances of harming embryo is lower down. So what is the regulation in India as per PCPNDT Act 1994? The detection of sex determination is not allowed in India. So you have to counsel patient all this thing, and you have to be prepared all the documents of PCPNDT. These are the record should be maintained in biopsy. Detailed record is Form D, which is filled by Genetic Counseling Center. The person who is counseling the patient should maintain Form D. Form E and F are PCPNDT forms, which Form E maintained by Genetic Laboratory, and Form F for maintenance of record in case of PGT. Form G is the consent for invasive. As we are doing biopsy on embryo, it is invasive technique. So Form G also maintained, and also the consent form, the other consent form for IVF also as per your clinic protocol maintained. So tips for embryo biopsy are thorough counseling is must. You have to have neutral counseling to the patient, whatever limitations of biopsy, limitations of results, and benefits of biopsy should be explained. Proper counselor should be there who knows every vocabulary of biopsy, PGT. PCPNDT form must be filled and signed with patient, husband, wife, both. Before PGS is performed, genetic counseling must be provided to ensure that the patient is fully understood. Whatever the patient, you should answer the patient everything. Patient should be fully understand the total procedure, and risk of having an affected child, and impact of, in PGD case, risk of having affected child, impact of that disease on his or her child, and impact of biopsy, and chances of misdiagnosis should be explained. All the limitation properly explained to the patient at the time of counseling. Couple should be informed that PGT can be reduced risk of conceiving a child with the abnormality if that abnormality can be identified with test performed in a cells. As I said, blastocyst biopsy has no measurable impact on embryo if it is done by experienced person and in proper lab. In case of multiple chromosomal abnormality with normal morphology, ask lab to rerun the sample. If your embryo is morphologically normal and you are getting multiple abnormal chromosome, ask your lab to rerun the library. We have so many times, we always coordinate with genetic person before discarding the abnormal embryos, because sometimes abnormal embryo grows very good. It is 4A blastocyst and your result comes abnormal. The analysis comes abnormal. There might be chances of contamination in lab. So please ask him to repeat, because embryos are very precious. You can rerun that sample to confirm the result. PGT of single gene disorder should ideally be performed with multiplex PCR and trophectoderm biopsy. USG and blood marker obviously shall be analyzed to confirm the result of, if your patient is pregnant, to confirm the normal result with USG and blood marker like triple marker or double marker test. Prenatal diagnosis testing like amniocentesis and CVS is strongly encouraged in case of PGS. If you are transferred normal embryo, do amniocentesis or NCBS for confirmation of PGT result. So these are the tricks. Keep on UV light around 30 to 45 minutes before biopsy to reduce the cell contamination. Clean all the area with your lab cleaner, all the equipment and disposable with your cleaning agent. Hatching of blastocyst embryo before 5 hours. As I said, if you are doing biopsy in the afternoon around 12 o'clock, hatch the embryo around 8 o'clock. So trophectoderm cells comes out and it will reduce the harm to the embryo. Confirmation of cells after transferring into PCR tube. This is done in my lab regularly. When we keep cell into PCR tube, we see the tube, the bottom of tube in stereo zoom microscope. If you adjust proper focus, you can see small hazy cells at the bottom of PCR tube. So please confirm the cells are inside. If you are doing day 3 biopsy, confirm the cell is inside. You can see in stereo zoom microscope where we are doing OM pickup, in same microscope you can see the bottom of PCR tube. You can visualize the round hazy structure of cell. So please confirm that the cells are inside before transporting the PCR tube. Mitoscoring is a mitochondrial biomarker. It is the energy status of embryos. So mitoscope help to select the euploid embryo with higher potential and increase the pregnancy rate for PGS. To be considered in addition to routine morphological classification, the mitochondrial DNA measurement can be obtained on day 3 and day 5. So ask your genetic lab to do mitoscore and they will give you potentiality of embryos, so you can select better embryo out of waste embryo. What is mosaicism? Is the presence of 2 or more types of cells with different chromosomal complements. Sometimes you send 4, 5, 7 cells to the genetic lab, and out of 5 or 7 cells, 1 or 2 cells abnormal and other cells are normal. So this is called mosaicism. This is PGDIS, Pre-Implantation Genetic Diagnosis International Society's latest guideline of 2019, where this says for reliable detection of mosaicism, ideally more than 5 cells should be biopsied. So if you are doing trophectoderm biopsy, ideally more than 5 cells should be biopsied with as little as damage possible to the embryos. That's why I said you have to hatch embryo in the morning, so trophectoderm cells comes out and it reduces the risk to the embryo. Only a validated NGS platform should be used. And what is the cutoff of mosaicism is around more than 20%. If more than 80% mosaicism is there, the embryo is analyzed as a abnormal, and less than 20% embryo is analyzed as a normal. So recommendation for clinician is patient should be continue to be advised that genetic test cannot be 100% accurate. There might be misdiagnosis occur. So it should be explained to patient. Transfer of blastocyst with normal euploid results should always be prioritized. Then mosaic, if you have 2 embryo, one is mosaic aneuploid and euploid embryo, then always give priority to euploid embryo. In the event of considering the transfer of blastocyst with only the following option should be discussed. A further side, see, if patient have a mosaic aneuploid embryo, patient do not have euploid embryo, then explain patient, so in next cycle you can get normal embryo. If you're willing to go for normal embryo transfer, do another cycle. In this cycle you have all abnormal, all aneuploid embryo. That doesn't mean in all cycle you will have same results. So encourage him to do another cycle and get euploid embryo transfer. Transfer of blastocyst with mosaic aneuploid for low risk chromosome only after appropriate genetic counseling. Appropriate monitoring and prenatal diagnosis of any result pregnancy, preferably by early amniocentesis. Embryo showing mosaic euploid monosomy are preferred to if you have mosaic euploid embryo with monosomy mosaicism, should be given more preference as compared to trisomy. If a decision is made to transfer mosaic embryo, trisomic for single chromosome, one can prioritize. These are the criteria. If you have mosaic embryo aneuploid, then the preferable transfer category are chromosome 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 17, 19, 20. These are the chromosomes where you can transfer the, if you do not have an euploid embryo, you can transfer the mosaic embryo. Embryos mosaic for trisomy that are associated with potential. 14 and 15 are the given lesser priority as they are associated for potential of embryos. The embryos mosaic for trisomies that are associated with IUGR, like chromosome 2, 7, and 16 are should be given lesser priority, and 13, 18, 21 chromosomal abnormalities are ideally not to be transferred because they are relative to live born viability. So what is learning curve for embryologist for PGT? As per ASHRAE, 100 embryo should be successfully biopsied by the person and with removal of 90% intact cell. So the cell cluster, intact cell cluster should be there in 90% with 100 embryos biopsied. So it is long learning curve, not only biopsy technique, but for identification of embryo, the witnessing system, matching of embryo with cells, and cryopreservation, everything should be experienced properly before going to actual biopsy technique. So this is a result of our, Akanksha. We have total, this is from 2014 to March 2020. We have total biopsied 1787 embryo. Out of that, 743 means 41.3% embryos are normal, 55.3% embryos are abnormal, and non-informative embryos are 3.4. Generally, we do repeat biopsy in case of non-informative embryo before discarding it. Total embryos we transfer out of 737, 572, 165 are still freezed with us. Total 384 we are transferring to 1 or 2 blastocysts. So total patients are 384 and total embryos are 572. Out of that, we got 151 patient pregnant. So the pregnancy rate is 45%. See, all these are indicated patients with recurrent failure, male factor infertility, multiple failure, miscarriage, higher age male. So these are the indicated patients where we can expect result around 15-20%, and we got 45%. This was our first PGT-A baby in Gujarat. The patient was 33, the female was 33-year-old, and the reason of biopsy was PGT was a recurrent miscarriage. We retrieved 18 eggs, 10 embryo biopsied, and 3 non-informative, 4 abnormal, 3 normal. Number of embryo transfer 2, and we got positive pregnancy and healthy baby born in 2015. This was a PGD case, PGTM case, first case of PGTM, where we detect the call for A1 gene, and it was published, call for A1 gene tested, and it was published in Journal of Human Reproductive Sciences. This was a PGTM case where we did PGT for albinism, and the first child of patient was albino baby, and then we did PGTM for albinism gene, and fortunately we got heterozygous embryo transfer, and the baby born was albino free. So the patient had total 3 cycle at our clinic. In first cycle we got 1 embryo and it was heterozygous, so we transferred, the result was a negative. In second cycle we transferred 2 heterozygous, and unfortunately it was not work. And in third cycle we got out of 5, 3 heterozygous, 2 homozygous, and we transferred 1 heterozygous embryo, and fortunately the patient get result, and beautiful albino free baby was born. So this is ART discharge summary of the patient. We thought 1 embryo, it was heterozygous mutant. You can see the report here. We returned heterozygous mutant embryos were transferred and healthy baby born. This was the case published in GHRS. PGTM patient, these are the indications of PGTM. At our clinic, we experience all baby born albinism called for a thalassemia major. In thalassemia major case, patient, husband, wife, both were thalassemia minor, and the first baby was around 3 years. He was the baby boy. He was affected with thalassemia major. So we did thalassemia PGTM for thalassemia, and we got to thalassemia minor embryo. Unfortunately, we didn't have any normal embryo, but with patients counseling and patients request, we transferred that thalassemia minor embryo after doing HLA, where 6x6 allele were matched, and unfortunately during CBS, the HLA change and 4x6 match was there, and now healthy baby girl born with thalassemia minor, and she can save her brother with bone marrow transplant. So Jacob syndrome, Robertsonian, MAA, polycystic kidney disease, reciprocal transplant. These are the indications where we work at our clinic. So what is the future of PGT? So the future of PGT is maybe non-invasive PGT, where you can culture your embryo up to day 5, 6, and you can send the spent culture media of 5 days culture media to the genetic lab, and they check and they analyze that media and give report normal, abnormal. So the future is no biopsy at all. So non-invasive chromosome screening of human embryo. These are the paper which are published for non-invasive chromosome, the genetic analysis with spent culture media. Thank you. Cryopreservation of biopsied embryo and storage. So you know, vitrification is a instant solidification of solution brought about by extreme elevation in viscosity during cooling without crystal formation. In slow freezing, there are crystal formations, so embryo damage, but more here in vitrification, we are freezing the embryo at high degree of cooling system. So it reduced the risk to the embryo. It is a kinetic process in which liquid solidified into glassy state, not in crystal state. So the word
Ma'am, we cannot see your slides.
O. So this is cryopreservation of biopsied embryo and storage. You already know cryopreservation of embryo, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
So the vitrification method is almost the same for biopsied embryo and non-biopsied embryo. So these are the definition of vitrification. I'm not going into it. Vitrification is faster and like some typical disadvantages on traditional slow freezing. The recent improvement in vitrification techniques include reduction of concentration of cryoprotectant, increase the cooling and warming rate, and use of novel cryo straws. These are the comparison of vitrification and slow freezing. Time slow freezing taking more time, around 3 hours, whereas vitrification we can do in 10 minutes. Instruments for vitrification are very inexpensive, whereas for slow freezing we have to have the programmed slow freezer, so it is expensive. Sample volume, here we can do vitrification with 4 microliter volume, whereas in slow freezing the volume is more. Cooling rate, we know the higher cooling rate in vitrification as compared to slow freezing. Concentration of cryoprotecting agent is higher than conventional freezing in vitrification. Ice crystallization formation is there in slow freezing, whereas no crystal formation in vitrification. So it reduces the risk and damage to the embryos. Direct contact with LN2 in conventional slow freezing, we were using straw, so there is no direct contact to the embryo with liquid nitrogen, whereas in vitrification there are different devices which I will show you as having exposure to the liquid nitrogen. Mechanical damage to the in the vitrification is less or none, whereas in conventional freezing, because of ice crystal formation and the more damage is there. Chemical damage is more in vitrification method, whereas in chemical damage in slow freezing is lesser. So you might be know CPA, cryoprotectant agent, which are the molecules that protect the cells and tissues during freezing by preventing damage caused by ice crystal inside the cell. When we freeze the embryo, there are water molecules which form the ice inside. So CPA helps to protect the cells during freezing. Characteristic of CPA is they are highly soluble in water, increase the solid concentration of cells, helps in replacing H2O molecules, and increase the viscosity of sample and decrease the freezing temperature. There are 2 types of cryoprotective agent like DMSO, polyethylene glycol, glycerol, ethylene glycol are the permeable CPA, which are able to close the cell membrane and prevent the ice crystal formation, where non-permeable are sucrose, raffinose, dextrose, which are not able to get inside the cell membrane. Now, these are the different devices which we are using for vitrification nowadays. This is open pull straws, where you can load embryo here, the black dot you can see. This is outer sheath. This is cap, and this is a straw where you have to load embryo here, and then you need to press. This is a loop. The steel loop is there, so you have to prepare small thin film like structure on the loop, and here you can see the embryo. This is a media, freezing media, and you just need, this is vial type, so you just carefully insert into the vial, you cap lock it and freeze the embryo. This steel rod is used for hold the cap. So this is cryo loop. This is cryo top. You can see here black square. You can keep your embryo with minimal cryoprotecting agent, and you can freeze the embryos in it. This is cryotip. It is same. You can freeze. It is a half cow-like structure, so you can keep your embryo and can freeze. This preparation, as I explained, these are PBS drops. For in center, you can keep your embryos one by one. Here you can wash your embryo. In my lab, I wash embryo, keep it here, do biopsy. Embryo goes into culture dish for washing, and cells you can wash here, and then cells goes into PCR tube, and you can send it to genetic lab. This is culture. When your biopsied embryo is washed here, outer surrounding droplet, and in center you have to have label the drop, and you keep here for freezing or embryo transfer. This I explained the PCR tube labeled HB. HB is initial of patient. One is 1 number embryo. HB1 and dot means a control tube. Here you can give cells, whatever cells are biopsied, you put in at the bottom of tube with around 5 microliter. Do not put more media with cells. It will dilute your cells and it will affect your results. So around 5 microliter media. You already have a small amount of PBS in this with the tube. So you just put 5 microliter media with cells, and rest of the media you can put into control tube. These are the straws. Labeling. This is my name written, Harsha. So you have to write patient's full name on the cap and on straw. This is embryo identification, date, embryo and identification, and it is PGTA or PGTM. At our clinic, we are doing labeling like this. So now day of embryo biopsy, PGTA, date, and patient's name, and embryo identification. So both on cape and straw. So remember, you have to freeze one embryo at a time in separate straw for biopsy embryo. When you are doing biopsy, always freeze one embryo in one straw and separately. So this is freezing dish where we have mentioned HB1. This is embryo identification and PGTA. So, and this is straw. Keep ready like this. So straw and embryo, and always do double witnessing for identification. This is vitrification method, which is almost, we are using Kitazoto. So the method of vitrification and warming is same. This is storage. These are different color goblets. So what we do, we put one patient's all straw in one goblet, and like this. So you can have fixed with cotton, and you can have proper color of goblet and color of straw. So these are cryo cans. So record should be maintained in lab is like this. We have an Excel sheet for a particular patient for PGS, serial number, date of embryo biopsy, patient's case ID, patient's full name, day of embryo biopsy, either it is day 3 or day 5, number of device, how many number of devices stored. Suppose you did 3 embryo biopsies, so here you can write 3. Color of device, the color of your straws, you have to write down here, whether it is pink, white, yellow, whatever. Color of goblet. So as I show you the goblet color, you can write down here goblet. So easy identification. Whenever you want to draw it, you can easily confirm the embryos. And canister number, in which number of canister you are putting the goblet. And can number, if you have more than one can, cryo can, then you can also write down can number. And signature of embryologist, biopsy done by whom. So is there any embryo damage during biopsy, during vitrification? Yes, mode of injury is, we know, in cryopreservation, because of ice crystal formation, most dangerous, and it is intra or intracellular disrupt the cellular organelles and spindle apparatus of dividing cells. Chilling injury is possible, which is also irreversible. It changes cellular structures like lipid, droplet proteins, membrane, microtubules, etc. And mode of injury, third mode of injury is osmotic shock because of cryoprotective agent. What are the risks involved in embryo vitrification is nuclear damage. Your nucleus may be damaged. Microfilamentous, as I said, like proteins or microorganelles also can be damaged. Microtubules may be damaged if your cell is in dividing stage. So ice crystal formation can damage the microtubules inside the cells. Mitochondrial swelling and abnormal distribution also occur due to cryo, which also affect the potentiality of your embryo. The zona become rigid and thick because of cryopreservation. Generally, in almost all clinic, they do zona assisted hatching before transfer for frozen thawed embryos. The reason is this: zona may become rigid and hard, so it cannot, sometimes it cannot able to natural hatch. So you can use laser assisted hatching to improve your result. What are the risks involved with oocyte embryo vitrification? Is cryo injury because of chilling, high degree of cooling. So as I said, lipid droplets, protein, everything is damaged. Osmotic shock during the water molecule. Zona pellicula hardening, as I said. Fracture injuries, sometimes your cell may get damaged, your an embryo degenerates. How long we cryopreserve the gametes and embryo, it is currently unknown the exact period of storage, but we are starting, we have cryopreservation techniques since 1918, so it is around 25 to 30 years, and we are freezing the embryo since 25-30 years. So patients that have cryopreserved their gametes and embryo this long back are unlikely to return. Sometimes patients come back and say, where is my embryo? I want to transfer again. If patient get pregnant in first cycle and they have live baby, and after 4-5 years of that baby, patient wants another child, and they come to the clinic and for next cycle. So the embryos never discarded before proper consent of patient. In our clinic, we have a written consent, not oral consent, not by phone consent. Always take written, signed, husband-wife signed consent for embryo discard. Live births have been reported from frozen human sperm stored for 40 years. Similarly, successful live births have been reported from oocyte stored for 14 years, because oocyte freezing is not very old technique. And from embryos around 20 years ago. So this is a paper published by me, put zona free hatch. If suppose you have a day 3 biopsy and you want to do phase embryo transfer, and on the day 5 your embryo totally hatched out, 100% hatching. So what should be done? Or you have 3-4 embryo, and out of that all 3 are hatched, and you transfer 2 hatched blastocysts, and 100% hatched blastocyst is there. Can it be frozen? Yes, you can freeze that embryo, that mass without zona, and you can also transfer this. We have a total 3 cases, because we are doing mostly fresh profectoderm biopsy transfer. So in the morning we do biopsy, and in the evening around 7-8 o'clock we get results. So we transfer that. So sometimes it happens because we already hatched that embryo, the mass comes out in the evening, and we have transferred that embryo into patient. We have 3 cases out of 3. 2 patients get pregnant. This was the first case where we got zona free embryo transfer and live birth. So you can transfer that zona-free embryo. The tips for vitrification is robust witnessing for vitrification as well as thawing is very important. Matching of cell to the embryo to the cryo storage, and at the time of thawing, same should be done from cryo storage to the transfer. And all ID should be checked twice. Keep record maintenance properly, because these are the embryo very precious where you cannot make mistake. For single embryo, single device should be used. As I said, you have to have freeze one embryo in one straw at a time. Proper documentation is essential. Consent taking is must for PGS. The all consent should be important. Transportation should be arranged prior. As I said, on the day of pickup, you should inform the transport person so that he come on his time and take biopsy. So transportation should be arranged prior. Written PGT report should always be formatted. Sometimes in some labs, it happens if you have a fresh embryo transfer, the lab calls you, the embryo number 1 and 3 is normal and your transfer is, so it is not advisable. Always rely on written report. Ask your lab to generate written report. It hardly take 10-15 minutes. So ask him for written report generation and then do embryo transfer. Never rely on oral communication in this case. In order to avoid shrinkage and expandation, always freeze blastocyst immediately after biopsy. So the collapse of blastocyst and expandation is stressful procedure. So always take biopsy and immediately freeze the embryo. Take care of cross contamination in lab, cellular contamination. If patient is infected, infected embryos should be stored in separate tank. Refill the liquid nitrogen periodically as usual. Is in all cryopreservation we do it. Safety measures should be taken while handling liquid nitrogen. Gloves and glasses should be wear to reduce the injury. Thank you.